Welcome everyone to Science Pub with the Linda Loring Nature Foundation. I am Dr. Sarah Boyce. I am the Director of Research and Education here at the Linda Loring Nature Foundation. At Linda Loring, we are in the business of connecting people with nature and science. We do that through research, education, and stewardship of our 275 acres. We've been talking about how we've had a really tough year. Everyone's had, it's been a little difficult, and we are very fortunate, especially those of us on Nantucket Island, to have a lot of open space to explore and take solace in. And for those who are on Nantucket, I want to invite everyone to come to the Linda Loring Nature Foundation, visit our trails, take a walk, enjoy the story walk. But for those I know that aren't on Nantucket, I know we have a lot of people from all over on this Science Pub. I encourage you to get out at your local nature center, explore a new property, explore a new walk, and get outside, because it is, the best thing that we can do right now. And there's always so much more to explore. So I'm very excited for this Science Pub event. As the name might let you know, when we first started Science Pub 7 years ago, we used to have it at a bar or a restaurant, and it was an excuse for us to gather in the winter when it was cold on our deserted Nantucket Island in the middle of February or March or something like that. Remember those times when we used to gather together at a pub and talk science over a beer? So while we miss those times, it's, this program has been one of my most favorite as we've transitioned to Zoom and being online, because our talks and our speakers are open to so many more people across the country, across the globe. And also even on Nantucket, we have more people who aren't usually able to come out for a beer on a Monday night. So that's been exciting. But also, I think for me, the most exciting part is getting to connect with our colleagues in lots of different places and have them, such as yourselves, give us a little bit of insight into what you do in your jobs. And so I'm very excited for this Science Pub event to introduce Leanne Welch and Whitney Crowder from the Gumbo Limbo Nature Center. First of all, thank you guys so much for being here and for joining us and telling us about Sea Turtle Rehab, and for not rubbing it in too much that we're in the freezing cold of winter and you're in Boca Raton, Florida. So thank you, Leanne and Whitney, for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you, Sarah. We are super excited to be here, and I'm really excited for this connection between our two facilities, even though we're 1,500 miles apart. So that is one of the beautiful things, I think, that has come from this forced quarantine and isolation, is all of us who were maybe more comfortable being out in nature and not so comfortable on the computer, we're all becoming really good at this virtual stuff. So that is one plus I think we'll all take with us. So yeah, we're excited. I'm going to share with you some background on our Gumbo Limbo Nature Center in Boca Raton, Florida. And then I'm going to turn it over to Whitney, and she's going to give us an in-depth dive into sea turtle rehabilitation, and in particular, our cold-stunned turtles that came from your neck of the woods. So we're calling them our sea turtle snowbirds. So it's been a ride, that's for sure. So I'm gonna share my screen and give you a little background. Okay, how's that look? Good, okay. So let me just give thanks to all the partners that made tonight possible, not just you at the Linda Loring Nature Foundation, but Gumbo Limbo Nature Center is part of the City of Boca Raton's Recreation Services Department, and we are funded by the Greater Boca Raton Beach and Park District. I'm going to get the credits out of the way early. We are also funded by our nonprofit partner, Friends of Gumbo Limbo. In fact, they fund our Sea Turtle Rehabilitation facility almost in its entirety. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our partnership with Florida Atlantic University. They have their marine science lab on our campus, and they do some groundbreaking and important work here, some of which we are lucky enough to be able to partner on. So first of all, I'm going to address the elephant in the room and say, what is a Gumbo Limbo? And for those of you biologists or botanists, you may know it's not a stew and it's not a dance, it's a tree. So Gumbo Limbo, or Bursera cimaruba, is a hardwood native hardwood tree native to South Florida. It's found all over our campus, but generally not north of Naples, Florida, because like me, it's only hardy in USDA zones 10 and 11. It does not handle the cold very well. Some cool things about Gumbo Limbo trees is they have a unique adaptation to survive the frequent hurricanes in that it will take root wherever it falls. So no matter what falls, even a giant limb will fall on the ground and will just grow a new tree right out of it. So that's a really cool adaptation when you live in hurricane zones. The other thing is you'll see the close-up on the trunk. We call it the tourist tree for its red peeling bark. So a lot of our tourists to South Florida forget to put sunscreen on and they find themselves with red peeling skin. So not very nice of us, but yeah, that's what we call it. So you're all here to talk about turtles, but I want to give you a little history on Gumbo Limbo Nature Center. And we did start around turtles. So the first picture is our founder, Gordon Gilbert, and he's there in the knee socks and shorts, giving interested students and locals the first turtle walks in Boca Raton. And this was in the mid-70s. So he'd bring people out on the beach to see mama turtle laying her eggs. And these are the first recorded turtle walks in Boca Raton. So that's pretty exciting. Mr. Gilbert, as he was known, was a science teacher at Boca Raton High School. And he was known for teaching, bringing his students to the beach, teaching out of the back of his station wagon. And he knew, like we all do, that learning about science in a classroom is a little boring, but actually getting out there and doing science is fantastic. We still hear from Mr. Gilbert's students who tell us how he inspired their love of science, even to this day. And we hear from students that were here on field trips back then who bring their children and even their grandchildren to our nature center. So that's pretty exciting. One of the other photos, the one in the middle, shows the construction of our nature center. We broke ground in 1983. And I love the construction workers with baseball caps, shorts, and this guy's actually wearing boots, but many of them are wearing flip-flops. So there was no OSHA in 1983. And when we opened in 1984, we had no furniture. And there's Mr. Gilbert sitting on his desk. He likes to talk about that, bringing in patio furniture just to teach some of his classes there. So today we have several buildings, over 30 team members, and when we're open, we have about 300 volunteers, and we host about 200,000 visitors every year, between 6,000 and 8,000 school children on field trips, and we're keeping true to Gordon's vision. We're on 20 acres out here on the Barrier Island, and I'll just give you a quick tour around so you can see we are nestled between the Intracoastal Waterway and the ocean front, the Atlantic Ocean. So it is a good place to be. So our Nature Center exhibits are seen when you walk in the Nature Center. We've got a large lobby aquarium, home to corals, anemones, fish, and others. We've got box turtles, red rat snakes, and native green animals. So all of our animals, all of our fish, everything is native to our area. We have some static exhibits. The one that you're looking at there, we have a dark sky or good lighting, so lighting exhibits. We also have other exhibits about our sea turtles that are nesting on our beaches. We have 4 large outdoor aquariums, and they tell the story of the major coastal and marine habitats here in Boca Raton. We have our mangrove habitat, nearshore reef, deep coral reef, and our shipwreck. And we have about between 1,000 and 1,500 fish residents at any given time. And like I said, they're all native to our 80. We also have our Sea Turtle Rehabilitation Facility. It opened in 2010, and every year we treat approximately between 80 and 100 sea turtle patients and thousands of sea turtle hatchlings every year. And Whitney's going to tell you more about that in a minute. We have a large butterfly garden on our property, and unlike many facilities, our butterfly garden is open to the air. So we only get the butterflies that choose to visit, but we get a lot of butterflies here. And we do that by planting a variety of host and nectar plants to keep the butterflies coming back. And you can see we've got our zebra longwing butterfly. That is our state Florida insect. We've got some monarch caterpillars, and then the Atala butterfly, which is actually a listed species. We have a boardwalk that goes through our rare coastal hammock forest, only one of 3 of these remaining in Palm Beach County. So our hardwood hammock shows us what Florida looked like before modern development and industrialization. Here we'll see the Gumbo Limbo tree, strangler fig, and our cabbage palms. And you might also see gray foxes, red-bellied woodpeckers, and Florida box turtles, along with a host of other wildlife. The other cool thing about walking on our boardwalk is a chance to see 2,000-year-old middens that were left by the Glades culture people. This was one of Florida's indigenous populations. They're since extinct. But these sites have been explored and researched by archaeologists at FAU to get a better idea of native life in Boca Raton. We have a sea turtle conservation team, and every morning during sea turtle nesting season, which is from March through October, they patrol our 5 miles of beaches to mark all of the new sea turtle nests that are laid on our beaches. And in the middle picture, you can see what a fresh loggerhead nest looks like. Last year on our beaches, we had over 900 sea turtle nests on 5 miles of beach. So as a fun fact, Florida and Oman host the largest nesting populations of loggerhead sea turtles in the world. So Florida hosts about 40% of the North Atlantic loggerhead population right on our beaches. And I mentioned we do partner with FAU, and they have a very long-standing research project that is studying the effects of climate change on sea turtle hatch success and sex determination. So they raise hundreds, probably thousands of sea turtle hatchlings in their facility until they're big enough that we can check if they're males or females, because there is no way to tell from the outside whether a sea turtle hatchling or a sea turtle is male or female until they reach adulthood. And they do this with a tiny laparoscopic incision. Just take a peek inside and see what the gonads look like. Then those turtles are, once they're healed, they're released back into the ocean. So what has that found out is sea turtles, like many reptiles, have temperature-dependent sex determination. So warmer sands make more females, cooler sands make more males. And many, many years, you can see the 100% of nests on Boca's beaches have produced 100% female hatchlings. And we just don't know what that means for the future of the species. In addition to all of that, when we're open, we have many public programs and tours. We host beach cleanups, and then the red light, you can see our sea turtle walks where we can see a nesting sea turtle. So with that, anyway, when all this is over, all this pandemic, and we can visit again, I encourage you all to come down to South Florida and visit us in Boca Raton. I will turn the program now over to Whitney. She is our Sea Turtle Rehabilitation Coordinator, and she's going to give us an in-depth look at Sea Turtle Rehab and an update on our snowbird sea turtles from Cape Cod.
Hi everyone, I'm Whitney Crowder. I'm the Sea Turtle Rehabilitation Coordinator, and I hold a permit for our rehab facility. I'm excited to be here today to kind of be at a pub with friends to talk about sea turtle rehab and what we've been through in 2020. We've had a lot going on. We actually had 92 turtles come into our facility that we treated this year. So very excited to be here, and I'm gonna move forward to the next slide. All right. So Gumbo Limbo has been involved in sea turtle conservation work for over 50 years now. After many years of responding to sick and injured sea turtles along our beaches, we decided to open up a facility to treat some of these sick and injured sea turtles. So in January of 2010, Gumbo Limbo opened up a very new sea turtle rehab facility. We currently have 12 tanks, and we have a very large 20-foot diameter tank that we also utilize to help with physical therapy for our larger sea turtles. And our patient load varies anywhere from 50 turtles to around 100, and that's just sea turtle patients. And then we have hatchlings and washbacks that we admit in our facility, and that can get into the thousands. So 1 month after we opened back in 2010, cold weather hit Florida. So the shallow bay and nearshore areas were bathed in very, very cold water for a prolonged period of time. and over 4,500 sea turtles actually stranded along the coast of Florida, so the west and the east coast. And Gumbo Limbo actually admitted 177 of those cold stun sea turtles. So 1 month in, we had almost 200 turtles that we were treating. And after 10 long years, we finally expanded and updated our small treatment room space into an official hospital room, and we are so excited. So that's one good thing that we've done in 2020 since everything's been closed down. We used to carpool and we'd load up all of our tools and equipment into a van and our animals. 45 minutes north of here, we use the Palm Beach Zoo that we use their surgical suite for surgery. So we're very excited that I'm sitting in our brand new hospital room right now, able to talk to you guys about sea turtles. And tomorrow we're actually doing a surgery, which is amazing. Because we're only one of 7 facilities that admit turtles with a disease called Fibropapillomatosis, which I'll go into in a little bit. We do a lot of surgeries. So we have several surgeries in a month's time. So this is a real game changer that we have an official room that we can do anesthesia in this room. So just a little bit about what we've seen throughout the years. We've had, in 2010, we had that really large spike of turtles, which was not usual. That was the cold stun event. And then throughout time, we've kind of gradually increased our patient load. And now we get anywhere from about 50 to 100 turtles. And like I said earlier, we just finished accumulating all of our data from 2020, and we had 92 sea turtle patients and over 1,000 hatchling and washback sea turtles admitted to our facility just last year. So I have an amazing team of people that I work with. I would like to just highlight them just for a second. You've all met me, and I also have 2 technicians that work with me. They are my right hand. That's Emily Morawski and Caitlin Bovary, and they do everything from admitting patients to hopping on boats and getting turtles out of the ocean that are injured to running everything there is to run in the hospital here with me, to reports and training volunteers when we have them, when we're open, running an internship program. So I'm incredibly fortunate to be working around amazing people that share my same passion. And I also have our veterinarian who's contracted through the Friends of Gumbo Limbo, and it's a very unique partnership, but she's here 2 days on site and always on call 7 days a week for us as well. So when we're open to the public, we have an amazing sea turtle husbandry volunteer program, as well as an internship program. Unfortunately, we haven't had our our volunteers here since the pandemic. So once we open again, we'll have to retrain everybody, but get everybody back to work. So a question that we commonly are asked is how are the sick or injured sea turtles found? And they're found by people. They're found by recreational boaters commonly, people that are out enjoying the water. They see an injured sea turtle floating at the surface. They're the first responders for the majority of the time. We also find sea turtles washed ashore, like this little turtle down at the bottom of your screen. Sometimes they get too sick to fight the waves, so they get washed back into shore. But those are the most common ways we see turtles. People are out boating, they find a sick or injured sea turtle and they call us, or they wash into shore. See, okay, I'm not controlling the slides, sorry. Sea turtles are admitted to our facility due to 3 main reasons, and those are trauma, marine debris, and disease. And trauma can be, it's typically boat strike injuries, but it could be natural trauma, such as a predator, like a shark attack. We also find turtles that are entangled in marine debris and also disease. Turtles do get sick just like people do. And 85% of our patients are admitted to human impact related injuries. Injuries such as being entangled and hooked in debris, getting hit by boats. Also washback sea turtles, those are those little tiny turtles that are washed back into shore. We're finding almost 100% of those little tiny turtles have ingested plastic. So it's a pretty scary thought for the future of sea turtles at this point. And then the few others we see, we do see natural predator injuries and the cold sun event, which is nature. This is from 2010 to 2019 data, so this will change a little from all the cold stuns we admitted this year. Sadly, sorry for the graphic photographs, but this is what we see. This is trauma from vessel strike injuries, and we see this a lot. We see it a lot in the summertime specifically. A lot of people are out enjoying the water, and a lot of times they don't even know they've hit a turtle, so it will wash itself into shore, or it'll float at the surface, and then somebody that's out enjoying the water will report an injured turtle. Turtles can have lacerations, like the first picture on the left-hand side, and that's where the propeller strike has lacerated through the turtle's body, or it could be crushed by the hull of the boat. A lot of times these turtles don't make it through. And sea turtles do have natural predators. The percentage is not as high, but they do have natural predators. When they're tiny, they can get predated by birds and crabs and fish. And then when they get larger, really the main predator that's natural is sharks. So they do get injured by sharks. And unfortunately, they are affected by marine debris and entanglement. And this was actually a turtle that was an incredible rescue that we did a few years ago. I coordinated a rescue team, and we went out to the reef that this turtle was reported living at. And we had a dive team put in place. They dove down about 60 feet down, caught this turtle, brought it up to the surface, and we rehabbed this animal for about a year. And it had a broken humerus bone. We were able to repair it and release it with all 4 flippers. So that was a really great success story. And we admit turtles a lot more than we would like. With hook ingestion, these turtles, specifically turtles that hang out by these piers, we have a pier that's local here, a few miles down the road, and we have a lot of repeat offenders. We have named these turtles, so we've actually admitted, oh gosh, Wormhole was one specifically. I think Wormhole was here 4 times. So we get to know these guys a little more than we'd like. But they are easily treatable, and we can remove the hooks, and we do release them back into the ocean. And again, marine debris, plastic ingestion. We see plastic ingestion in all life stages of sea turtles, from the tiniest turtle the size of the palm of your hand to a turtle that's 400 pounds. And this picture on the right-hand side is actually a turtle that we have in our facility that I will introduce you to in a little bit. And she just pooped out a large portion of plastic, and we're trying to kind of figure out what this plastic is, but it looks like packing material almost. And then the picture on the left is a turtle that's the size of my hand. That's what we call our Washback Sea Turtles. And those are turtles that have hatched and have made it offshore to our Gulf Stream area, and then have floated back into shore because they are sick. And almost 100% of these turtles are filled with plastic. And turtles get sick just like we do. So a lot of times we can't always pinpoint why they're sick or what brought them here, but we are able to treat the symptoms. So this turtle was an emaciated, debilitated Loggerhead Sea Turtle. You can tell by the way its underside of its belly is completely concave, so it hasn't been eating or digesting its food properly for a very long time. But it is treatable. We also see turtles with this disease called Fibropapillomatosis. We call it FP for short. And it can limit the range of motion, that the turtles can't swim properly because these tumors grow all over their flippers, which will slow them down. It grows over their eyes, which causes them to go blind. And eventually it does cause them to starve to death. So there are 17 facilities in the state that treat sea turtles with this disease, and that treat sea turtles. We are one of 7 that treat turtles with this disease in the state of Florida. This disease is very debilitating. It affects sea turtles on a global scale. It's related to non-point source pollution. It is contagious. However, the transmission of the virus is still unknown. It's debilitating, and it causes this growth of these benign tumors that can inhibit their movement, like I talked about, their feeding and their vision. And there's a lot of ongoing research to better understand this disease, and we've definitely been a part of quite a bit of research studies. But there's still a lot we need to find out and to learn about it. And treating sea turtles is probably the coolest part of my job. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we do here. So after the diagnostics are complete, we create a medical plan for our sea turtles. And this includes what type of fluid therapy we're going to give the animal. We prescribe different types of medications, and then we make a wound care protocol for each patient. And we administer a variety of different types of medications, depending on what their blood chemistries tell us and what specifically is going wrong with them. But my favorite is we like to use a lot of natural remedies. So we use raw honey, which is antibacterial, antifungal. It's got anti-inflammatory properties, and it has osmotic properties, which acts like a sponge, and it actually draws the infection out of the wound. And it's amazing to watch what honey will do. And we treat turtles with this disease, Fibropapilloma, where we use a laser and we take off the tumors. And so basically all we do to make sure that that heals really fast, because we're taking off layers of skin off those tumors, and it leaves a raw area when we go to put them back in the tank. But we apply raw honey every day, and they start to granulate fresh, healthy tissue within days from using honey. One of my other favorites, we use Leech Therapy, which I have used on myself, which I can go into later. We use Leech Therapy, which helps restore that blood flow to specifically entanglement injuries, and it helps reduce inflammation. The therapy has been a game changer, and for us, specifically those entanglement injuries. The percentage of amputations we perform now is very minimal due to what we did before we started using marine leeches. And you can order marine leeches from Leeches USA. They overnight ship them to us, and I think the video is just going to keep playing, but it's been amazing to watch what those leeches can do for our turtles. We also use maggot therapy, and that therapy is applied where we use a maggot stocking to kind of hold those maggots in place, and those maggots will debride a wound that's really infected, and it will disinfect the wound by removing that dead tissue. So we usually dry dock those animals for probably about 3 days with a stocking in place to kind of keep the maggots in that infected area, and then we'll remove the stocking, we'll clean it out really well, and usually it only takes 1 to 2 maggot applications, and all of that infected tissue area is completely gone after a few days of maggot therapy. And we also use cold laser therapy a lot, actually. The treatment, this light treatment, uses low levels of light to promote healing in those damaged cells. And we use this often to reduce inflammation and swelling from entanglement in post-surgical sites. And we'll use laser therapy in conjunction with leeches many times, specifically for those entanglement injuries where we're trying to get that swelling to go down. And we use wound vac therapy, and that's wound vac is vacuum-assisted closure therapy, also known as negative pressure treatment. And this is comprised of a foam bandage and a vacuum pump that creates negative pressure around the injury. This treatment prevents infection, it reduces swelling, and it stimulates healthy growth. And this has also been a game changer. We use this on all of our sea turtle injuries that have been hit by boats, those lacerations that you saw on one of the previous slides. We would, if the turtle were to make it through, we would put the foam and use this type of therapy to inhibit the speed of recovery at a much quicker rate. And surgery is required for many patients once they're stabilized, and our vet can perform different types of surgeries. She will perform amputations, primarily Fibropapilloma surgery. We also do hook removals, just to name a few. And release is obviously our #1 goal for every sea turtle. We can do releases many different ways. Sometimes we'll have to go back offshore if we're releasing little tiny turtles. We want to go back to the habitat that they're supposed to be. So we'll take them 10 to 15 miles offshore to the Gulf Stream, and we'll put them in the sargassum seaweed, or we will release these little juveniles who typically wouldn't be found on the beach. They're tiny little turtles, so we'll walk them in the water. Or sometimes we do a big public release for our large adult animals that are used to crawling around on sand, and we'll get anywhere from up to 500 to 1,000 people watching our sea turtle releases. So that's something I'm really excited about whenever we open back up to the public. And then to the Colson event. So we admitted 20 sea turtles from New England. We had 17 Kemp's Ridleys that were admitted and 3 Loggerheads. And we only have 12 tanks, so we had to be very strategic. So turtles were flown in and they were brought to Gumbo Limbo. We used an alphabetical animal naming theme so that we could keep them all straight. We created medical stations to help us stay organized, and these stations were as follows. We did initial checks, we labeled the turtles' bins, and we wrote their names on their shells, and we started a medical folder for every sea turtle. Then the next station, station 2, we took blood work for each patient. Then station 3 was we weighed each turtle. We took photographs, admittance photographs, and we took measurements. Another station was we performed radiographs. So station number 4 was specifically a radiograph station. And then the final station was the veterinarian gave her final exam. We gave antibiotics and fluids, and we gave nebulizing treatment, and then we tucked them in and dry docked them. They didn't go in water overnight because we wanted to make sure that we knew how well each of them swam. So we had 5 different stations. It worked out brilliantly. There was no confusion and everything worked like a well-oiled machine. And then we're going to play a little quick video so you can kind of get a better visual of what happened that day. I don't know if there's a video. I don't know if there's one. Sorry guys, there was volume. I don't know what happened. So this is us just getting back to Gumbo Limbo after being at the airport and receiving all 20 of our turtles. They came in banana boxes. It's a cheaper way of flying them all. So this is our station 1. We're getting them all in their labeled bins. We're getting them medical charts so we can keep track of everybody. We had one media crew. This was our blood work station. And our X-ray station. And here we are taking measurements on all of our turtles so that we can fill out all of their appropriate state paperwork and photographs. And then this is the last station where our vet is giving them their last medical exam. Then we'll be giving fluids and antibiotics. And then we're doing nebulizing treatment. And then we put lubrication on them to keep their skin moist at night, and then we tucked them in until the next morning. So these Colston turtles do suffer from lung infections quite often, and it could be bacterial or fungal. So we added a medication to the nebulizing treatment just as a precautionary. Because the only way to test for a fungal infection is to perform an invasive procedure, and these guys have been through enough stress as it was. So we just treated them precaution. Okay. We also did fluid therapy, and we gave them broad spectrum antibiotics. There's a lot of syringes there. All 20 of them are getting treated. So we still have a long way to go, especially for the Kemp's Ridley, and that's a little Kemp's Ridley right there in that photograph. They're the little guys. They are, since they are so little, I think they suffered from cold trauma a lot more than the big loggerheads did. And we only have 4 Kemps that are eating right now. And the rest are getting tube fed. So this is what the tube feeding treatment looks like. It's just a mixture of rich protein. We're hoping this will stimulate their system to start wanting to eat on their own. Little Kemp's-Ridleys in the wild like to eat crab, and we're offering them a variety of food, but there's no crab right now. So maybe they're just being picky. But it's a pretty easy process. It lasts for not even a minute. We put the tube down their throat, almost into their stomach. We give them a little bit of gruel, and then we put them back in the water so that they can swallow and digest their food. And then we want to make sure that we're checking up on them. We have a lot of turtles right now. I think we have about 30 turtles and 12 tanks, so we got a lot going on. So we want to make sure we weigh them every week so we can make sure that they're not losing any weight. And then we also want to give radiographs every other week to look at their lungs and make sure things are progressing like we hope. And just a little bit of an update. We did have 3 Kemp's-Ridleys pass away, unfortunately. What we learned was that what we thought already, that they had hemorrhaged lungs, scarring, and they definitely had a lot of trauma from the cold. And we are about to get permission to release our 3 loggerheads, so that's really exciting. They are very ready to go. And then the rest of the Kemps probably have a couple more months left before they're going to be ready for release. And so with that, I would like to ask if you guys are ready for a tour to go out and see some of our sea turtle patients.
Thank you so much, Whitney and Leanne. So just so everyone is on board knows, we are gonna, if you guys have questions, we're gonna answer the questions after we've done the tour. So feel free, a few people have already typed questions either in the Q&A or the chat. I'm gonna monitor those after, but we're gonna do a live tour. And so when we do the tour, one thing we realized in our practice session was that we can't share the screen because it's going to be a live tour. So if you'd like to see the tour at full screen on your desktop or your laptop or whatever your device is, if you in your Zoom screen, if you go on the top right where it says view, you can do speaker view, and then when Whitney starts the tour, it'll the tour will be the speaker, and that will be the main screen that you see. The other way to do it is if you go on the, yep, you see the tour. If you go onto the tour where it's dot dot dot, you can hit the pin button, and the pin will pin it as the main screen. So I hope everyone can either pin the image, or you can make that tour image the main screen you're seeing. I'm gonna hide my video myself, but if anyone has any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. And then at the end of the tour, we're gonna go back and ask Leanne and Whitney some questions. Who knew maggots and leeches, right? All right, all right. Whitney, I think that we are ready.
All right, well, welcome to our Sea Turtle Rehab tank area. We are, I think you're looking at emu right now. And like I said, we named all of our turtles in an animal theme. And emu is one of our Kemp's-Ridleys that's eating. So let's see if we can get emu to eat for you guys. So I'm feeding this little turtle shrimp and some capelin and some squid. And it looks like emu's enjoying the shrimp. So these little turtles, these Kemp's-Ridleys, are sharing tanks with other little cold stun turtles. So right now, emu has 3 tank buddies. Okay, I'm gonna try to show you a better image. So we had to make dividers because these guys are carnivores and they're not very nice with other tank mates. So they will bite each other. So we have to keep them separated, and that's to alleviate more injuries. They're already suffering enough. Emu looks like he's going to eat a little bit more. And emu's tank mates are not eating on their own. So we're just going to focus on emu right now. And emu is gaining weight. Her radiographs look great. So this is definitely a candidate that will be released hopefully shortly. Do you guys have any questions?
We have a few questions in the chat. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
Yeah,
I can
hi,
hear you.
Leanne, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know. Sarah, you want to ask them?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and ask them, and then I wrote some additional ones down, and then, yeah, so either Whitney or Leanne, one of the questions was about the treatments for the FP tumors. So you mentioned that you use the lasers and then followed by the honey, and then, is there a chance that those tumors will grow back? What's the kind of prognosis there? Once you kind of get it all, is it likely that it won't grow back?
So we do see regrowth. That definitely does happen. If we're able to get all of the cells during a surgery, the less likely we are to see regrowth. We try not to keep them for longer than we need to. Once we see the turtles healing and they don't have regrowth, we try to get their scabbing to basically heal, and then we release them, because we do think that stress plays a role in regrowth, and sea turtles don't understand that we're here to help them. Unfortunately, they get stressed. So we try to get them, we heal them quickly and then get them out as quickly as we can. So as long as we're not seeing regrowth, and sometimes it does take a few months. I'd say the average stay is probably 6 months for a turtle with FP. Oh, do you guys want me to walk over to a turtle with FP?
Oh, sure. That would be, I guess it's not great because but that would be interesting.
Sure.
So there's been a few questions while you're on the way over there. There's been a few questions about if you track the turtles ever. Do you ever put tracking devices on them to see how well those individuals do after treatment, or see where they go?
We do. That's actually a project that I'm really proud of. We started that in 2014, where we satellite tracked turtles after they rehab. So just to see, give us a better idea of how successful our rehab is. We try to tag a variety of different species with different types of ailments. And actually we're satellite tagging 2 turtles tomorrow, and I will walk you to one of them. The turtle that we're satellite tagging is Curry, who's here, and she has been injured. She's predated and also hit by a boat, and she's missing part of her flippers, front and rear flippers. So we're going to be satellite tagging her to see how well she does. And you can follow all of those satellite tracks through our website. You can click on our rehab link, and then it'll take you to our satellite tracking section, and it will actually tell you in live time who's still transmitting and who's not. And we have a turtle that's been transmitting on our site for over 2 years. And she is living just north of Cuba in a great area where actually my husband's also a sea turtle biologist, and he has a turtle that we're pretty sure they're friends. And it's a nice hot spot for turtles to live. So she's still cruising around after over 2 years after being rehabbed.
Wow.
So what Caitlin's showing you right now is this little turtle right here that's on the screen is a turtle with Fibropapilloma. And if you can see these little tumors right here, that's FP. This is actually a pretty mild case of papilloma. But what we'll do is we'll get the turtle stabilized first. We've taken radiographs, we've taken blood work. So we're gonna go through and look at the chemistries and try to figure out what kind of medications we're gonna put this turtle on. We just got this turtle in, that's why she's sitting in this bin. We kind of have turtles everywhere right now. But she's got a mild case. She is floating, so we wanna get her feeling much better. We want her blood work to look much better before we even think about putting her through surgery. So she will be here probably a couple months until she's healthy enough to be put under full anesthesia. And we do put the turtles down, you know, very much asleep through surgery. But we do use a CO2 laser and a cautery unit to remove these tumors. A lot of times the tumors will grow here on the flippers, which will prohibit their swimming capabilities. It will also grow in their eyes, but she looks like she's got a pretty mild case on her eyes, which is great.
Wow. So I mean, we have a few more questions, but I want to say thank you guys so much for doing this work, because I am so amazed. I didn't realize, and I don't know if our audience did as well, how many, you know, we kind of hear about ship strikes and plastics and entanglement, but I didn't realize these non-point pollution sources were also causing these diseases too. And so I think you're probably getting it from so many different angles, it sounds like.
They are getting hit by every angle.
One question I had was, if you have advice to those people, you know, all of us on the webinar right now, of things that we can do in our everyday life that might help relieve some pressure. I mean, little things like maybe reducing plastics and things, but are there other things that you recommend to people that come to Gumbo Limbo?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time? I was having some tech.
Oh, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. I was just wondering if there was advice that you either personally or at Gumbo Limbo give to people that they can do in their everyday life to help support the turtles. So you mentioned plastics and things like that. Are there other pieces of advice you give?
So what I like to tell people is that we can make individual choices now, starting with us and our families, and we can make sure that we remember to never use plastic bags and take our reusable bags to every store, and take our own containers to restaurants, and skip using plastic straws and bring our own. Also, getting involved in our local government so that we can make sure that we talk about what we think should be happening within our own cities. I think that's really important and something that people don't take more advantage of.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry.
I mean, I think we, you know, living in a maritime community ourselves out here on Nantucket, I think we are, you know, talking a lot about those same issues with plastic on our island. And I encourage everyone else from different communities as well to keep that in mind. I think that's a really important point, Whitney.
I think that we would be surprised at how much change that we could create if every one of us made personal decisions to be better, I think.
So one of the other questions we had was, what was a washback turtle? And I think you sort of mentioned it again, but I'd love you to say a washback turtle. That's a phrase I haven't heard before.
Yeah, a washback sea turtle is this little tiny sea turtle that has hatched, made its way out to the ocean, tried to swim out to the Gulf Stream or whatever current system that they're going to be living in, and then been washed back into shore. So they're anywhere from a couple weeks old to a few months old. And almost every washback that we admit to our facility has ingested some sort of plastic, and that can be 10 tiny pieces of plastic, or it could be over 200 pieces of plastic. And those are sea turtles that are the size of your hand. And to me, this is the most alarming thing that we're seeing right now, because if we're seeing these little tiny animals finding this much plastic in our open ocean, what is that telling us for the rest of marine life? And also, what is that telling us for what we're going to experience with this much plastic in our environment right now?
I think that's an excellent point, because you're seeing it in the turtles because people care about turtles and are interested in rehabbing them. But it's all the things in the ocean, right? Including the things that a lot of us like to eat from the ocean. And so it's all, you know, it's not just.
Oh, it's in the food chain. So we're eating marine life, and therefore we're by default eating plastic. It's everywhere. So I forgot to introduce you guys to the two turtles you're looking at right now. They're also turtles that, they're little green turtles who one has had all of its paps removed and one is still waiting for surgery, but they're tank buddies because we've run out of space. So one is a little turtle, littlest one is Vino, and Vino just had surgery. And so she's doing so much better already. She's already starting to form scabs over those open flesh wounds from us removing the tumors. And she had quite a tough surgery. So she's doing amazing. And she just had surgery a few days ago. So she's already eating, she's already healing, and her tank mate is getting along with her nicely. So we didn't have to separate them like we do the little kids.
We have another question that says, can we hear more about the percentage of turtles hatching that were females? That sounded very significant as far as the future of the population. It's a really good point.
Leanne, do you want me to kick that over to you? Sure, I can address that one. Yeah, honestly, this is kind of a scary development, and this is a study that's been going on well over 10 years at FAU. They do it every single year, and I know there's a similar study being done in Australia, and they're finding exactly the same thing. And it is significant as far as the future of the population goes. And, you know, sea turtles do not form, they're not monogamous at all. So one male sea turtle will certainly mate with many, many, many females. But also one female does mate with several males, and they do store the sperm, and so they can be a little picky as well. So we're just not sure what this means for the future. It takes our sea turtles 20 to 25 years to reach sexual maturity, to reach adulthood. So all these turtles we're studying now, we're not going to see those results for, 20 to 25 years to see what is going to happen to the population. So we're hopeful that with a combination of education, rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, making those small changes, maybe, hopefully, that's going to make a significant difference. But what we are seeing, which I think is interesting, is in response to raising temperatures and climate change, sea turtles are nesting further and further north. So maybe they're self-regulating those temperature changes. And maybe because we're seeing more and more nesting in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, more than we ever have before. So it's almost like the turtles, not that they know, but they're responding to some external stimulus and nesting further north, where maybe the temperatures are going to be a little cooler than they would be in South Florida. And maybe they are self-regulating. Our study is really only here in South Florida. We have a study site in Boca Raton and about 40 miles north in Juneau. So it's definitely something we need to explore further. And there's tons of research projects out there for any of you budding PhD students. Lots of stuff going on.
And Leanne, that begs the question too. I don't have a map in front of me, so I'm thinking, but is there habitat available a little bit farther north? I don't know how the beaches and the beach strand and the vegetation on the beaches compare as you go north.
There is. Florida has 40% of the world's population of the North Atlantic loggerheads, but there is nesting habitat up into the Carolinas. So I think they're just taking advantage of that more than ever. And sea turtles are global. I mean, we find them, obviously. You had Kemp's Ridley up in your neck of the woods. So they take advantage of feeding and mating grounds everywhere. It's just the nesting beaches that you'll find in the warmer climates.
So one quick question was, what is the typical lifespan of a sea turtle?
Either one of us can answer that one. They live a long time.
I'm not judging that.
We know that we've got a turtle that's in her 80s that we've had since before. It's the pre-act turtle. I think it's up in New England. And what's that, Caitlin? It's the New England Aquarium turtle. So we know she's over 80. So we know they live a long time. I would assume they live over 100 years. We know tortoises live a long time, and they're closely related to tortoises. So I always say they live a long time, but we've never been able to successfully track a little hatchling from the time it was born throughout its entire life cycle. So that's why we don't have a definite answer.
I have visited the New England Aquarium and seen the oldest sea turtle.
So
go ahead.
Oh, Caitlin was trying to tell me something. What you're looking at right now is a little tiny juvenile turtle. And then we're going to switch gears over here to a subadult turtle just to give you an idea of how big they can get. And I also wanted to show you, this is a maggot mitten down here. So this turtle was bit by a shark, and underneath the turtle you'll see the big shark mouth, like big, huge bite. It's on the top side, it doesn't look so horrible, but she's got a pretty nasty bite. Probably a bull shark if I were to have to guess. And her flippers were kind of dangling and there was a lot of necrotic tissue. So we put a little maggot mitten on her and it's just a little woman's pantyhose on her rear flipper. But we'll be taking those off tomorrow and I'm guessing we'll probably find a nice healthy flipper after we take that mitten off. And this is a Loggerhead Sea Turtle.
So one question that came in earlier was about whether or not the leeches were single use. And I was curious about the maggots as well.
Yes, they're all single use. They once they're done, we put them in the freezer and incinerate them. Specifically the leeches, because they're sucking blood, so we wouldn't want to use this, the same leech on different turtles.
But they've given their life for science, so it's
They
okay.
have.
I did not think we'd be talking about maggots and leeches. I love it.
It's one of my favorite parts of rehab. All right, we're gonna just head on over to Curie because we are satellite tagging her tomorrow, and I wanted to let you guys see her before she heads out to go be released. And talking about predator wounds, she's got a big shark bite injury on her right side. I don't know if we'll be able to show you. We're cleaning off the window so you can get a better look. But this is Curie. This is our big loggerhead sea turtle. She's almost considered adult size. She's missing a giant chunk on her right side, lower right side. She's got 2 big shark bite wounds, and she's missing a portion of her flippers too. So we're really excited to be satellite tagging her so that we can look to see just how well she does in the wild with so much missing flipper. It's important for us to make sure that we're doing the right thing for them, and I think she'll do just fine. But you guys will be able to watch her tracking through our website.
Just so you know, I put the link in the chat to the satellite tracking part of the website for those on the.
Perfect. Loggerheads are pretty charismatic. They're so interested in looking out that window. It's cute. I think she's looking at Caitlin right now. But they don't quite know what's about to hit them for tomorrow. She's going to be released. It's exciting. Best part of her job.
That's very exciting.
Whitney, will we be live streaming the release?
We will. Yeah, we will be live streaming. Yep. So she will be released along with another turtle that we won't get to see tonight, but you'll get to see her tomorrow if you want to jump in and watch. And the other turtle's name is Zinfandel. We were going through a drink phase earlier part of the pandemic.
What time are you going to be doing that release? You know, roughly.
Hopefully around 3 o'clock. So it does take a few hours to get the tags cured and the epoxy hardened, but I'm thinking hopefully it's going to be around 3 o'clock.
Okay, so the best way, if people are interested, to go, follow you guys on Facebook and keep an eye out for the Facebook Live event.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure we're probably doing a teaser, won't we, Caitlin, beforehand? Yeah, we'll be putting something out probably about an hour before the release, just to give you guys a heads up of when it's going to happen.
Okay, great. That sounds awesome. One other question that came in was because we were talking about plastics. Mrs. Topham, Jeanette asked about what's the best way to recycle plastic holders for soda bottles? You know, those like the rings.
So I know that recycling is an issue. I know that we think everything's getting recycled, but actually it's less than 10% of the plastic we actually use has ever been recycled. And I know there's special places you can take things like that. You'd probably have to do a little bit of research. Does anybody, Leanne, do you know where you can take the bottle caps?
I don't, and it really depends on what your local community is doing. So you really have to be your own best advocate for recycling. And you know, what we're doing here in Palm Beach County, down in South Florida, may be entirely different than what you're doing on Nantucket, and it's such a local problem. But what we like to tell everyone is we're not asking everyone to be 100% perfect. If everyone just made 1 or 2 changes, the difference would be staggering. So that's really our message to even our visitors, to our 200,000 visitors, is just if you make one change in your daily life, if you bring your recycled your bags to the grocery store, or switch to a coral safe sunscreen, or and just one little change is just going to make a humongous difference. So don't feel intimidated by making 100 changes in your life. Is just one or two little things is going to make a humongous difference for these animals.
Excellent. I think that's an excellent point. All right, and I did want to tell you guys too that there have been a lot of comments about what a great presentation. Some people had to hop off early, and they wanted to thank you for your presentation. And I'm stunned by these awesome images of all the sea turtles. I just love them. Do you guys have anything else to add as we sort of wrap up for the evening? Is there anything else you want to kind of impart about Sea Turtle Rehab and how things may have changed with COVID, and how you've been able to hate to use the word pivot, that's the word of the year, but how we've pivoted your operations with COVID?
It's been very challenging, but I think the one thing that I feel is that our mission still stays strong, and we all love deeply what we do here. And so although it's been challenging, and I'm sure there's been tears shed, we love what we do. And so that hasn't changed. Leanne, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you summed it up. I mean, that all of us that work here, we're passionate about what it is we do. And it has been challenging, not gonna lie. But like I said, we've found different ways to reach a bigger audience, and we've all become much more adept at making videos and live streaming and being comfortable doing our work in a virtual world. And here at Gumbo Limbo, we depended on the work of basically 30 volunteers a day to get our work done. And since we're closed, we don't have volunteers. So I think as a team, it's brought us closer together, because we've all had to rely on each other to help prepare all the food. I mean, our animals eat nearly 5,000 pounds of food a year. So there's a lot of food prep for 1,500 fish and 30 something turtles. And in addition to our snakes and our box turtles and our tortoises. So it's just little things like that. That's probably the biggest change. And we got more little cold stuns. They're so cute.
They are really cute.
So cute. Uh-oh. I muted.
Oh, Tori's muted. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, you guys are looking at Frog right now. I guess Frog's being a little shy. Hopefully she'll swim back over in front of the camera.
Well, I think
one of our little camps that we're tubing.
One of the that's tubing. How long? So I know you said that some of them are there often like 6 months. So these turtles, and maybe you said this and I'm mixing up different individuals, but the turtles, like these guys that are tubing were from that cold sun event, how long do you think these may have? I mean, just ballpark, are they going to be there a while?
Probably at least 6 months, I would guess. They've already been here since the beginning of December, so they've got a few more months to go. I mean, I think that their injury, it's so strange because they look healthy exteriorly. And then like the other day, we had one pass away that we thought was on its road to recovery. It even started eating, but the injuries from the cold temperature, what it's done to their lungs has been pretty horrific. So we're gonna keep an eye on them for a few more months. And hopefully they all start eating really well before we get ready for a release, because that's a great sign. You know, if they're eating well, they're no longer floating, their blood work looks great, their x-rays clear up, then they're on the road to recovery, but they still have a few months left. And I'd say for the turtles that have Fibropapilloma, they probably stay anywhere from just a few months to 6 months is probably about the average. And many of them have at least a couple surgeries. before they're released. The longest we've had a turtle is about 1 year exactly. We've had a couple turtles that have had pretty serious injuries that we've had for about a year. And those are usually from really severe boat strikes.
Well, I think we are going to have to wrap it up. It's just a little after 6. So I really, Leanne and Whitney, I want to thank you, and Caitlin behind the camera, I want to thank you so much. Not only for being here tonight and sharing your work with us, but also for the work you do. Thank you so much for, you know, for caring for these animals and for the work you do to help save the populations.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And I would just like to make sure that we thank the volunteers up with Massachusetts Audubon and all those hardy souls that help rescue these turtles. This year has been a really bad cold stun. I think last I heard was over 800 turtles. And yeah, we're all gigantic cold water wimps down here. So like I said, I mean, our ocean water right now is I think around 76 degrees and you wouldn't get me near it. And so when I hear about people that are willingly entering water that's 40 or less degrees to rescue sea turtles, I am in awe. So if any of you on this webinar, wow, my hat is off to you. Yeah, I'm definitely a zone 10 or 11 kind of person. There's no way I could live further north.
You must laugh at all us northerners when we go south and go jump in the water like it's so warm and cozy.
Yep.
Well, thank you again so much for sharing your work and your passion with us all. We will, like I said in the chat, is the link to the satellite tracking information, and then we'll share on the Linda Loring Nature Foundation Facebook page. We'll share some of the info for the Facebook Live event tomorrow, because I think that would be really exciting follow-up. And for those also on the call, I just wanted to mention, if you're interested in other Science Pub speakers, every month through May, we have speakers lined up. So go to LLNF.org and check out the events page. We have descriptions of all our talks, as well as ways to register. Our next talk is February 8th, which is another Monday at 5 o'clock, where Desiree Narango from UMass Amherst and Chris Neal from the Woodwell Climate Research Center are going to talk about the Yard Futures Project, which is a multi-city project using data to look at people's yards and yard management, and how different you know, suburban yard management can help increase biodiversity of your yard. So I'm really excited about this talk, and that is once again February 8th, and check us out at Linda Loring at LLNF.org. So thanks everybody for being here and for giving us your Monday. And I can't get over these turtle videos. Little frog over there. Thank you so much, Leanne.
Oh, it was a pleasure. And hopefully we'll get to see you down here live and in person
That would
someday.
be lovely. Someday. I know, we're like someday.
Someday. And we'll go to a real pub. So
Right. It'll be a real pub. Exactly.
all right.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everybody.